Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. This is your girl, Lady K. I'm coming to you um, from What's the Tea? And we're on www.gsslradio.com. All gospel, all the time. We're coming to you today with our topic, Surviving the Storm. Right now, we are actually having a major storm going on. We have some major rain winds going on outside. And it brought me to the topic because a lot of our lives consist of different types of storms. Some of us have some windy things going on. Some of us have some hail going on. Some of us have some snowy, well, we're just covered with a lot of coldness, a lot of drowniness of ice. And of course, when you think about, some of us have sunshine, we have sunshine in our lives. And so I wanted to talk about how to survive the storm. um it said in St. John, that we will have trials and tribulations, but we must be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Being an overcomer is what we want to focus on. How to survive the storm by becoming an overcomer. It's some three things I want to share with you. But first, I want to deal with, what are storms? What are storms? Storms are um, storms are those things that stop you or distract you from your daily tasks. We know that as a Christian, as a believer, we are here on purpose. We have a purpose in life. We have a purpose to do things of God's, in God's kingdom. So we want to uh, make sure we understand what we're up against. Even though we know that while we have God who shields us and protects us, but He said that you're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with the snares of the world. You're going to have to deal with the trials of the world, the tribulations of the world. But then you got to know who you know. So let's talk about these different types of storms. Um, Rain. What is the purpose of rain? And why do we have rain? Now we know physically rain is to uh, keep the ground moist, make sure we don't have a dry um, season, because dryness causes things to die. So we need the rain to keep things alive. Let's look at that on a spiritual sense. Why do we need rain in our lives? Why do we need the rainy season in our lives? Because a lot of times we have a lot of dust. We have a lot of dry areas in our lives. We done got dry in our praying. We done got dry in our worship. We've got dry in our praise. We've got dry with our community. Look at the community. How it's drying up. How our kids, y'all. Did y'all look? I know y'all not blind to the fact that these kids are at the school and get outrageous. I mean, they are really attacking the adults. We understand that kids have fights at school, but the kids are turning on the adults, the teachers, the ones that's going to help them get the education. What Back in the days when I was younger, I wish you would raise your voice, less known, raise your hand at a teacher. You're out of there. In school suspension or out of school suspension, or worse, you get paddled. I've seen on Facebook, on social media, where the guy had put a picture of a man, had a paddle in his hand, and then a child bent over and said, "Where is these days?" They're gone because we got so much dryness in the area. It's so dry. There's no rain falling nowhere. And let's go further than the kids. Let's look at these babies. They're being trained to be, I don't, I, I I'm just gonna say like it comes up, being a thought. being being wild, being rambunctious, being gangster. Where you get this from? We're drying up. The kids are drying up because they're not getting any moisture. They're not getting any rain in their lives. People are turning to the streets instead of turning to God. People are turning to drugs instead of turning to God. People are turning to alcohol instead of turning to God. So people are turning to all the worldly things instead of turning to God. And we need the rain because these type of actions are showing that we're drying up. If you ever paid attention to a raisin, it was a grape at first, but because it lost moisture and the nutrients that it needed to grow, it started drying up because everything that it had on the inside was now being pulled out of it. That was deep. I don't know if y'all just really just listen to what I just said. That was deep. We are not receiving moisture, not receiving the rain, I should say, or being appreciative of the rain that's in our life to keep us moist, to keep us hydrated. So everything on the inside of us is now being pulled out. The kids can't survive because everything that they supposed to have from their connection, which is their parents and grandparents, they're not getting anymore because why? The flow, thank you, Holy Ghost, the flow of the moisture of God's spirit, God's living water had stopped. This flow has stopped. So now the kids are now drying up because they're not getting the moisture that they need. Why? I don't know. I guess because we don't want to chastise our kids like mama used to do. Yeah, some parents went beyond of discipline, you know. Let's keep it real, Some things we just went a little bit too far. Some of us went a little bit too far with the discipline, things that we used to discipline our kids with, and we make jokes about it and everything. But truth be known, with all the laws they have now, you can't pull out no broom or no shoe or people using extension cords and trees. I'm not gonna say switches, I'm gonna say trees to chastise their kids. And now that it's gotten to the point where we're not gonna chastise our kids, and don't let me bring up the neighborhood. It took a neighborhood to raise us. So the neighborhood now is not the neighborhood what we used to have back then. I mean, we used to be on the corners, and when the sun went behind the tree, not down, because the sun not down yet, but when it went behind the tree, it was time to get home. You had to beat the light on the corner coming on, or you were gonna be in trouble. And Susie down, Mother Susie or Aunt Susie, what we called her down the street, would let Mama know already that you were late because she'd be looking at the door saying, you better get home for your mama whoop you. But she'd already called her. So what I'm saying is that's the flow, that's that moisture, that rain that I'm talking about. That moisture has dried up, and now the kids are dying. People are dying because they don't have the moisture. That's the rain. Looking at snow and ice. It's a I'm gonna say cousin to the rain, except it's more condensed. It's more shaped or hardened, and sometimes we can get in a disfigured, hardening shape and cause heaviness to us. Is ice and snow good for you? To a degree, because it kills off things that's not supposed to be there. But if it stay too long, it can kill off things that you really need. Why do we need the snow and the ice? Because it kills off things that we don't need: pestilence, gossip, hatred, jealousy. But if it stay too long, it puts you in a state of dormant or depression or stay in a house too long in a dark area when it's snow and ice on the ground, you'll start getting depressed, you start feeling sad, you start thinking about bad things. That's it's only good for a limited time. And that's why you only have for a limited time. Snow and ice don't last that long. It don't. Just like the rain doesn't last that long. It's only for a limit. It's only for a temporary season. I'm getting ahead of myself, but but I'm just saying that there's a season. That's ice and snow. That's what it does. Okay, so we want to look at when you look at ice and snow, how it can be good to a certain degree, and then it can be hard to a certain harsh on you to a certain degree. You can only have it for a limited time. How does that pertain to what I'm talking about? Knowing how to balance hardship, trials and tribulations, find a way of escape with that. Um, when when I think about when, I think about um air, breath, gossip, hearsay. Why do we need that? Why do we need that? This will help you stay on your toes. A lot of people say, I don't like gossip. Da, 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 da. It's the type of gossip that will keep you as a Christian, you as a saint, you as a believer on your toes. Because you will know how to discern. You will know how to say, hey, that's not of God. That's not the fruit of the spirit. That is the words of the enemy. I had seen on Facebook where there was a picture of a woman who had a child, and that child, that very child, was messing with or bothering another child, and that child had a frown on his face or looking sad. And on that picture, it showed where the mom was standing behind her child, and her tongue was like flowing into that child's mouth as if she was talking. So what am I saying? That the wind or the things that your child hears you say, and what he see you do, he mimics it. So when I'm while I'm talking, I'm hearing in my mind, um, you just like your daddy, you just like your mama, you just like your uncle, you just like your aunt. What was so significant about those people that you would relate it to that child? Because they're with you 24 hours a day, pretty much. Majority of the time they're with you, unless you just abandon your child and gave him to somebody else, or not abandoned. Let me take that back. You place your child in someone else's care while you're somewhere else. Um, so they're with you most of the time. So they're mimicking or watching you most of the time. So whatever they're doing it because they saw you do it or they saw whoever they're around the most do it. So if your child is loud, if your child is obnoxious, if your child is bad, if your child's saying things that's out of the realm of a child, you need to look in the mirror and say, where am I the reflection is this the reflection that I see of myself? I was told just the other day that your children are the reflection of you. If your child is a good student in school, 9 times out of 10, they saw you being studious over the things that you take care of today. If you procrastinate, delay some things, 9 times out of 10, your child is going to be a procrastinator. and be lazy on doing some things. If you are a parent or a guardian that cuss all the time and say foul things and statements to other people or about other people, and your child watches you like a television, 9 times out of 10, they may not do it in front of you, and some of them are just bold enough to do it in front of you. They're doing it too. If you're wondering why your kid getting kicked out of school, 90% of the time the school is in, 9 times out of 10 is because of what you're doing at home. How you responding to that child, how you responding in front of that child, how you handle things when that child's around. I know this is an eye opener for some of us, but I really want us to understand. Lady K wants you to understand that this is life, and these are storms that you have to deal with. That's wind. I thought I got off, huh? No, I didn't. That's wind. So I've dealt with majority of the storms that we deal with: wind, rain, ice, snow. Now, how do you deal with those things? Glad you asked. So, of course, I'm a person that likes to study, and I love to look at nature and how nature reacts and how nature overcomes and how nature, rebuilds as it go along its way. Storms come through and we like, oh my God, the storm tore my house up, and or it's flooded and I lost my car and da 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 da. Okay, spiritually, when we look at surviving the storm, first of all, prayer is essential. Have you a nice little conversation with the Most High God. Get a communicate. If you can get on your cell phone and have a conversation with your sister, your brother, your cousin, your friend, your mom, your dad, you can definitely have a conversation with God. Just same way. You just get on the 111 and have a conversation. Pray with him, talk with him. That's what prayer is, conversating with God. And you don't have to use big words. People, you don't have to use big words. Let me make that clear. You don't have to use big words to talk to God. I don't use big words. I don't have time for it because I need God to understand what I'm on, and I need to understand what I'm asking God. Because I'm using big words, I don't even know what they mean. I'm not doing that. I'm not. But I am going to talk to God on a level that I understand what I'm asking him for, what I'm conversating to him about. So I can get a one-on-one. It's a one-on-one with him. And do it. Don't just do it whenever you need him. He's not a toilet. He's not a bathroom. Talk to him every day, just like you put your tennis shoes or your shoes on every day. Put your mind on God every day. Before you roll out that bed, before you get on the side of your bed, start talking to him then. Make it a priority in your life. Don't make it a religious task you do every day. Because you brush your teeth and wash your face. Well, yeah, you brush your you brush your teeth and wash your face every day. Unconsciously. Don't let God be an unconscious thought that you just get up and say, oh, thank you, Lord Jesus, for waking me up this morning. And no, have a serious conversation with him. Have a heart to heart with him on a regular. It say pray constantly without ceasing. And after that, start a worship and praise. Get you some music, or get you some meditation music, spiritual meditation music, because they do have that out there, where you can just put it on and just get in a worship zone, and stay there for a couple days, stay there for a couple minutes. Get you something that's gonna keep your mind stayed on Him. Your mind gotta be with Him. That'll keep you from falling off. That'll keep you from losing yourself in your storms. It'll keep you out, keep you going through your storms. That way you can get out of your storms. And the thing is, keep showing up. Keep showing up. What does that mean? Keep showing up. That means every time the storm show up, you show up. And not just you by yourself. You make sure God is in the front. God is in the back. God is on the side. Make sure you intertwine yourself with God. When the storm show up, so guess what? You may be up. You may have showed your face, but guess what? God finna show up and show out. Because I got God on the inside of me. Show up. Last thing, believe. Believe that He is able to do exceeding abundantly above all we can ever ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. I want to encourage you all how to survive in the storm by keeping yourself connected to the storm stopper. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where one of the disciples, old Peter, wanted to come where Jesus was once he identified who he was, walking on the water during the storm. No, that was not a storm. It was just rolling. That was no storm. They just saw him walking. Let me correct that. And so when he looked out there, he said, Jesus, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, Jesus, if it's you, let me come to you. And what Jesus say? Come on. Because he's not going to never deny you to come to him. That's a good thing. So he stepped out there. And then, here we go. The winds and the waves started up, started flashing against him, against Peter. And instead of Peter looking forward and keeping his eye on Jesus, because that's where he wanted to go, he got distracted by the winds and the waves. I call it storms. We get distracted by the storms and get our eyes off Jesus. And so he starts to sink. He starts to sink. He didn't sink. He starts to sink. He realized, I may drown. I may go under. But he did not forget who he was focusing on, because he called his name out. Jesus, help me. And he came and helped him. He said, well, why did you doubt? Why did you take your eyes off me? Why did you lose focus? Because you was too focused on the storm. You were too focused on the winds and the waves instead of staying glued to me. I want to encourage you all again. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for coming on to What's the Tea. Again, Apostle we're preparing to travel, so he's not here on this today, but y'all keep us in prayer. I guess it's your girl, Lady K. What's the Tea? On www.gsslradio.com. All gospel, all the time. See you later.